Hello, this is Tim Rivers with J6 Patriot News, and I'm speaking with Mark and Jaleese Middelton from Texas. Mark and Jaleese are both J6 defendants. They are released and not incarcerated, but like many J6 defendants, they had a rather rough experience at the time of apprehension. And so we're going to speak with them a little bit about that and about what happened to them when the FBI came knocking. Mark and Jaleese, thank you very much for the interview and welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So guys, tell me a little bit about it. I mean, I know when you guys came back from J6, did you have any inkling that the FBI or anybody would be looking for you?
Oh gosh, no.
Absolutely not.
So you guys had no idea that you were like, when was the first inkling you had that there might be interest in you?
When MRAP came racing towards me down the gravel road outside of our farm.
So you had no prior warning until they actually came in for apprehension and raided your place.
That's correct.
Well, tell me a little bit about that. What time of day was it?
It was about 8 a.m. We just gotten ready for work, and I left first. And I got in the company car. I drove out of the farm onto the county road. We call it the lane. And as I'm driving up the lane, there's an MRAP coming towards me. And then two black Suburbans pulled out from behind the MRAP and started to pass it. And there's guys hanging out of the MRAP and the Suburbans with automatic weapons and their riot gear. And then I look in my rearview mirror, and here comes two more black Suburbans the same way, guys hanging out of them with automatic weapons. And of course I stop, and they jump out with the guns pointed at me. A drone was flying, and they started yelling at me to get out the car, and I got out. I'm walking over to them with my hands up, still kind of a little wondering what's going on exactly. As I'm walking to the two agents calling me, I get flashbanged right at my feet from behind out of the MRAP. And I look back at the MRAP and I said, seriously? And I look back at the two agents in front of me and I said, why did they do that? And the lead agent for me said, because Washington told us to do it this way. And so I started, I reached them, I got to them, and they, started handcuffing me and told me I was under arrest for J6. And as they're handcuffing me and shackling me, I asked them, I said, why didn't y'all just call and we would have came down to Plano and turned ourselves in? And his response again is we had to do it this way. This is what Washington wants. So I begged them to ask if Jaleese was at home. I told them yes, and I begged them to call her because Jaleese is actually physically disabled. She doesn't always appear that way, but she actually is. And I didn't, of course, want them to hurt my wife or destroy my house or kill my dog and in the process. So as they were putting me in the car, everyone got in their vehicles and started heading onto the farm, and they did call Jaleese, and I will let her pick up on there.
So they called me, and the woman on the phone said, this is FBI, we have your husband. And I instantly, my heart sunk. I didn't know whether to believe it was FBI. So I instantly actually started to walk toward my gun, trying to figure out what's going on. Do I need to protect myself? I didn't know what was happening. And when I got to where I keep it, she said, do not touch a gun. Come to the door with your hands up. And that's when I realized, okay, something's going on. This is legit. They can see what I'm doing. When I open my front door, I mean, my entire property is packed down with FBI agents, SWAT team, MRAPs lined up on my front porch pointing at me. And as I stepped out of the front door trying to push my dogs back, they're screaming at me to come out. So they flew drone in my house as I'm walking down the ramp. And of course, I had my cell phone in hand because I was talking to them. And I handle my cell phone the minute I get to the bottom of the handicap ramp. And they tell me that I'm under arrest, and you know, and then the rest is from there. Now, as I was going down the ramp, I heard a bang, but it wasn't close to me. I later found out they did flash bang me too, but it just wasn't close enough to me to make me panic. Honestly, I was just pissed.
That's my sentiments as well. I was very upset. And really kind of almost humored at the over the topness of it all.
Right. And I was the same way. I was like, you've got to be kidding. It would be like behaving that way. In my book, it would have been like behaving that way with a SWAT team pointed at a child for stealing a piece of gum at the store. It's like,
Yep.
I just didn't understand what's the big deal, because what I do, you know. But then when I asked for a search warrant because they'd flown that drone in my house and that made me mad, the agent stood about 6 feet away and just lifted it up on a clipboard. And I said, I can't see that. And he walked 3 feet closer, and I went to grab it, and he jerked it away from me. And I said, I have a right to see a search warrant. And he said, I don't have to show you nothing.
That was the exact same experience I've had with him. I asked him for a search warrant, and he held it up about 6 feet away. And I said, well, let me have it. I need to read it. He said, no, I don't have to show it to you.
Right. And so you have no idea whether that was a valid warrant or that happened to be, you know, his expired parking notice from the local garage.
Exactly.
Right. So with me, I persisted. I said, I need to see that. And he goes, then look at it. And I said, I wear glasses, and they're in there on my nightstand. And so he sent an agent in the house to get my glasses to bring to me. And of course, even when I put them on, I couldn't see that far away, but I could at least see that my house numbers, because they print bigger, was on that listing.
Okay.
And so I knew there was a warrant for the houses. I later found out it was only for the phones, not the houses, but
Yes.
So they had a warrant only to retrieve your phones, not to enter your house, not to search your property, not to enter any outbuildings or any place else, only to retrieve telephones.
The way the warrant read is that they could search anything they wanted until they found our phones.
But Jaleese, you handed their phones to them immediately, didn't you?
yes.
Mine was off the property, and she was out in the front yard when she handed her phone to them. And so they then proceeded to go in the house for about 2 or 3 hours after they hauled us into jail.
And the only reason we know that is we rent a house to my sister-in-law next door on our property. And it's 10 feet away. And because it's my house, they raided her house too.
No, and she's an innocent now. She wasn't there at J6 or anything, right? She's just your sister-in-law, lives on property.
Yeah, she's just an innocent bystander, basically. And they pulled her out at her gunpoint, searched the house. We have an RV on our property near our house that a mentally disabled veteran lives in. And thank God he wasn't home at the time, because they searched his RV as well.
He would have freaked.
Oh yeah, he would have been back in the VA psych ward for the next 3 months.
Well, these types of excesses are what I'm hearing basically over and over again. It's a methodology. It is not process. It is not policy, but it is a methodology, as you just mentioned, that evidently Washington decided that they needed to be excessive, to go over the top, to put innocents in threat, and in some cases even to point loaded guns at women and children.
So I know this kind of off kilter for a second, but if you look at their methodology that they chose, I could just see Nancy Pelosi saying, you do to them exactly what I felt like they did to me. And I feel like, they come unwarranted. They, came on into our house. They, they threatened everything is imagery of what they felt we did to them.
You know,
And I say we very loosely because that's actually what they're, charging me so much with is my verbiage on Facebook, because I refer to we as patriots, not we as in me. And apparently, they had a heyday with that and charging me with things. But they come in here. So when I was out at the road and questioning this search warrant, he told me, he said, I noticed you keep your house well. He said, you can either tell me where these items are at. He pointed to a picture of my wedding ring, or we can go in your house and tear it up looking for it. And I said, I have nothing to hide. I said, I'll take you in to get the ring. And so I took them into my bathroom and gave them, well, I didn't pick it up myself. They dug it out of my jewelry box with a pen and took my wedding ring.
What in the world could you need a wedding ring for? I mean, what possible piece of evidence could a personal piece of possession like that provide the FBI, other than to basically injure you mentally?
Exactly. That was exactly it. Then they asked for the clothing we were wearing on the day of J6. So I took them to our hall closet. Me and my husband have separate hall closets, and I gave them the scarf and the hat that we had and that we still had. Some of it was lost out there that day. And then they took a full-length leather coat that I was wearing that day.
And the coat I was wearing as well.
Did they take any other possessions of y'all's? I mean, the wedding ring is a non sequitur. I can't even understand that part. But by the way, I've heard that more than once. What about your IDs or any of your wallets or anything like that? Were they taken and returned to you?
No.
No.
But they did take our cell phones. It took about 3 weeks to get that back.
About 6 weeks to get our cell phones.
Maybe. I don't remember.
Well, that's a horrible case. I see. It looks like you were held for a few days before being released.
Yeah, we were held overnight. I think we got to the detention center about 2 p.m. and they kept us overnight, and about 6 or 7, of course you don't have clocks, so I don't really know, but 6 or 7 the next morning they come to take us to court. And ironically, when my federal agent come to re-handcuff me to load me in the car, he was like, did you sleep well last night? And I said, well, interestingly, I actually did. I slept very well. I said, I don't get to have downtime in my personal life. And so then he goes, well, how was the food? Just, poking and prodding at me. And I said, you got me on the food. I couldn't eat while I was there. Not to mention they withheld my medication from me.
So again, yeah, so you needed medication. You didn't take it with you when they jailed you. And did you ask for it and they refused it?
No, they just didn't bring it with them. I didn't ask for it. I did note to them that, I have problems with my feet because the shoes that they, gave me to wear, I knew I wouldn't be able to walk in. I have to have special equipment to be able to walk, and those shoes wouldn't have it. And they just said, take it up with the medical staff. So
do you have a private attorney or a public defender?
A private attorney.
Good for you. Well, this is a very unhappy story. I'm sorry to hear that it happened to you, but the excesses that you're describing, the unprofessional behavior and the taunting from the FBI, these are all signs of a bureau that is out of control and no longer serving justice, but more now serving a political set of masters who are following a narrative that has nothing to do with the Constitution or the rights of U.S. citizens to be safe and secure in their homes.
Yeah. Well, I've got more for you on that.
Well, do tell.
So on January 6th, we made a short little video as we were leaving the Capitol area, heading back to our hotel, and anyway, it was really kind of unfortunate because we referred to we several times in the video as I was showing people that had, by that time, people were up on the balconies outside the Capitol. And we had no idea anyone had ever went in. But I made a comment how we helped them do that. Or maybe Jaleese did, I can't remember. But anyway, a little bit after that, I posted it on Facebook like an idiot. My sister texted me and said, "You need to take that down. That doesn't look good on you." And after a little bit, I realized that, yeah, that's not becoming of who I am. So I took it down. Well, the government offered us a plea deal, actually the second plea deal, right around the first of the year. And for different reasons, it's been getting delayed. But in early March, the FBI showed up at my sister's doorstep, basically threatening her with charging her with tampering of evidence because I took the video down.
And interfering with a federal proceeding.
Federal investigation and
Yep.
federal proceeding, and also threatened me with adding another charge of tampering with evidence because I took the video down. And they told my sister that they highly suggest that she encourages me and Jaleese to take that plea deal.
Of course.
And so, when my sister told me about this, we told our lawyers that, and they absolutely hit the roof and let the AUSA know. And the AUSA apparently went off the deep end. And so that's why our court date is currently delayed until the 11th of this month.
Is to investigate that incident, because they also went around nosing around her neighbors, asking questions about her.
Yeah.
Because they live in a very wealthy neighborhood, and that would be embarrassing to them.
And that's the goal. Frankly, the goal is to hurt the families and the friends and everybody they can get their hands on to paint them all with a brush of, insurrectionists and terrorists. We know better. We've seen the videos now. It's pretty clear who started the whole doggone thing. But the fact that they're threatening your sister and, tampering evidence, hey, I erase emails all day long. And if tampering with evidence is going to be a problem, we should get Hillary Clinton back here right away.
Right.
Well, and you kind of need to have an open case to have evidence.
Well, yeah, you have to know it's evidence before you can willfully destroy it.
Yeah, and when you delete a video off of Facebook, it never goes away. You only take it down so that it cannot be seen publicly anymore. And, because they have the video and they got it off of Facebook. So, all they do is just call up Facebook and say, hey, we need all the information on this person. And Facebook willfully turns it over to them. So they've got the video. It's not like it's been permanently deleted.
Furthermore, when they confiscated my telephone, I was a marketer, so I have thousands of contacts for business. And not only did they destroy 3/4 of my contacts, but they also shut down my URL to where I cannot even get on Facebook. They somehow manipulated my phone. And to this day, it is not right.
Well, I'll be real frankly, I think our days with Facebook and
Yes.
some other folks, it's all over with those guys. We can no longer trust them. But I'm concerned about the way that, that normal justice is being exaggerated into basically domestic terrorism by the people who are supposed to be promoting justice.
Correct.
Well, also, on domestic terrorist side, the TSA revoked my pilot license under the guise that I am a threat to national security, airline transport, and aircraft operation.
Of course, you have not been found guilty, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So,
nonetheless, my pilot license is basically permanently revoked right now.
yeah. Well, I sympathize with that. I had mine yanked for 6 months one time, and I was very concerned. The whole point of having these other government bureaucracies engaging in the penalty phase before you're even charged or found
Yeah.
guilty is ridiculous. Here in Florida, they revoked everybody's gun licenses, and they still haven't, some of them haven't even seen a magistrate, and they took their licenses away. And now, of course, they publicize it so that the public is inflamed, and they'd like to send those people after you now that you no longer have a gun to protect yourself. So,
Exactly.
Well, and we had to give ours up for the recognizance bond. Now, our son-in-law has the law. They allowed him to come get all the guns out of the house before they released us. And he did the first thing that next morning. So, yeah, we don't have any.
And we're on a farm where out in Texas, we have a major hog problem. So
yep.
my property's been destroyed by hogs. My dog got attacked. And it has still a gaping, well, it's closed over now, but a gigantic scar from it. It's all because, they are overreaching like they are.
Yes.
Well, as a funny note, I had to kill a possum that possibly had rabies. I had to kill it with a kitchen knife because I didn't have a gun.
Yeah. No, it's beyond ridiculous, and we understand exactly where they'd like to go with 2A, and but that is a violation. You have 2A rights until you are a felon, and you're not a felon until you're found guilty. So, basically, what has happened is that the process of justice has become the punishment.
Yes.
It's no longer punishment after you're found guilty. It's the process that is a punishment. And just ask any of these gentlemen who've been residing in the DC gulag for almost 2 years now.
Right.
And so, well, thank you very much today. Again, this is testimony to the American people. It's time for the American public to realize that this is our country and you are the jurist in whether or not our government is serving the people in the Constitution, or it has decided to serve a narrative that makes Americans lose their freedom and lose the rights that were given to us in the Constitution by our forefathers and paid for in blood for over 200 years.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your testimony. And I'm so sorry that this has happened to you. I'm praying that you guys have a good outcome in the court, that you either get dismissals or acquittals. And I praise your patriotism for January 6th and for your perseverance here. Thank you again, both, for your interview.
Thank you.